Yeah. All right. I'm going to go ahead and hit the button here. All right, guys. We should be live on YouTube. And for those of you hanging out in the YouTube chat, good morning. And give me a yay or a nay on the audio on my audio and also the guest audio because I'm on a different stream than all of these guys. So sometimes you'll get my audio and not theirs. And sometimes you'll get their audio and not mine. So good morning. How's everybody doing? Someone speak up so we can get a sound check. Dark Zero, you are muted. I see you talking, but nothing's happening. Yeah. uh. uh. No. Yeah, I've actually used those fancy backgrounds that you can do in Jitsi and Zoom and some of the other chats. If you don't have a green screen, sometimes you can kind of fake a green screen. if you know. I've done that in a couple of videos. Yeah. All right. Yep. And the audio is left ear only. I've adjusted that. It should be mono now, so you guys should be getting both ears now. And hold on just a second, guys. They cannot hear your audio. All right. Big Pod, good morning. Give us a sound check and see if. uh, uh. All right, I'm previewing the stream. It looks like the audio's good now. Well, I say it looks like the audio is not good. Okay. They still can't hear you guys. Hey, can one of you guys monitor the stream for a second and let me know when you guys can hear yourself? Yeah. Oh, the audio is fine now? Okay. All right, it looks like the audio is fine now. Well, hold up. Audio is not fine.
Definitely. he's gonna hurt me. Or did
All
he
right.
hear it?
Yeah,
I think audio should be working. I'm getting conflicting.
Down the toilet will clog up the toilet.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
We can see you talking, but we didn't hear any.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything for a while from the missus.
Well, you know, there's toilets that have like a vacuum assist in commercial.
Oh yeah,
to reduce the chances of them getting clogged. They're literally called blowout toilets.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
What they'll do.
No, you're talking to, and we can't hear you. You must be Marcel.
Mrs. Marcel.
Reminds me of a short
all right, can you guys hear me?
Strip that I saw this summer. It's an office environment.
Testing,
and,
1, 2, 3.
They have this daily video and conference meetings, and the boss is trying to check if his microphone is working. So he starts asking.
All right, it looks like you guys on YouTube can hear me, but these guys can't hear me. So I'm going to hang up from the Jitsi call and rejoin.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay. So everybody on YouTube could hear everybody, but you guys couldn't hear me. So it was a Jitsi thing. I had to leave the room and come back. So everything should be cool now. So I missed the toilet talk, but no need to rehash that. I'm sure it was a great discussion that you guys had.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not okay. He wanted to go back to it, but
That's what I do every day of my life. So no, I don't really need to.
well, I guess we should talk some Linux talk. So obviously, this past month, we had some big releases. Obviously, the whole Ubuntu family, which I know Big Pod was very excited about Ubuntu Mate having a new release out.
Definitely.
And then, of course, we're going to get a lot of stuff based on Ubuntu in the next few days, few weeks. You know, Zorin had a release just yesterday, I think, or the day before. Then Fedora will eventually release, but I guess it's been delayed a little bit, which is normal for Fedora. They almost never release on time. But usually when they delay it, it's usually just a slight delay. A couple weeks probably, I'm guessing. I don't know. But when the new Fedora comes out, I'll definitely take a look at that as well.
I'm waiting for the Budgie spin. That'll probably be out in a year or so.
Which spin?
37.
Budgie.
Budgie, yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting because, you know, Fedora really doesn't usually do anything with the desktop environments. So it's not like you're going to get anything that's not very plain vanilla upstream. It's like they have an i3 edition that people asked me to take a look at, and I did it on camera. And then when I took a look at it, I was like, why were you guys asking me to take a look at this? It is just the i3 package installed for you, but it's not configured in any way. It's just Fedora with i3 installed. Which I guess is cool that they offer that as a spin, but they really don't save you any time if all they're doing is just installing i3 for you.
Yeah.
That literally can be installed in like 10 seconds. Like they really didn't. Yeah.
Install the basic things, but then not change any settings.
Yeah. But I guess they're offering that because more and more distributions are offering tiling editions. So I guess they wanted to go ahead and jump on it, but it doesn't make sense, especially for tiling window managers, just to ship the default. Like I can understand if you want to ship default GNOME or default KDE, but shipping default i3, it's almost like you put in zero work to make that thing, you know?
Did I hear zero Linux? What? Zero?
Zero Linux? No.
I heard zero.
I think you've got some weird audio issues on your end there.
Definitely.
Yeah, for a while we could hear his the keyboard.
No.
I think it was his keyboard.
I'm surprised that, for Halloween, I'm the only one that bothered. I was
not-
expecting to.
we
I
do not.
bothered. I'm wearing the teacher glasses. I'm now a teacher.
We
I
do
was
not-
going to put on the beard. I was going to put on the beard that I had in that video, but I had my coffee, and I don't think. Matter of fact, I don't think the hair is going to work either. I'm going to have to take the hair off here in a minute. It's getting very, very hot with the hair and then the earphones.
Yeah.
Yeah, my ears
Getting a
are
little hairy.
burning.
Burn,
So
baby, burn.
So, did any of you guys try out any of the Ubuntu releases?
I have.
You have.
No.
Which one did you try out, Dark Zero?
Budgie, the budgie one.
The Budgie one. Yeah, that's always been one of my favorites because I like the Budgie desktop, and I really think Ubuntu does Budgie really better than even the Solus team as far as I just like their layout and theming and.
The only reason I use it is because it's purple, like Zero Linux.
Yeah, but you like GTK based desktops too, right?
Yeah, I tried GNOME recently. I wanted to try GNOME 43, but the Arch repositories still have not pushed GNOME 43 yet. It's still in testing. So I had to try it via Manjaro's testing branch, and I tried it via Fedora because Fedora already have 43. I found a newfound appreciation for the way the GNOME team are doing things. We all used to bash on GNOME for a long time, but it wasn't appropriate, I guess, because they were doing things slowly, and we were bashing the things we were seeing. And the fact that we didn't see the theming aspect, the way they were doing theming, we thought that they were going to drop theming altogether, and we started bashing them for that. But with gradients, now it's theming done differently.
Yeah, I would say the bashing has been unwarranted. Maybe some of the more recent stuff, but certainly a few years
Mainly
back.
the Advaita theming.
Oh yeah, that was people going a little overboard with.
And me,
some of
and
the
I
criticism.
include myself because
Yeah.
I used to bash them because they didn't allow us in whatever their file manager is called, Nautilus. They didn't allow us to create new documents in the context menu, but now they do. They were just working on it. There's only the still one thing remains, and which is the thumbnails. We cannot see thumbnails yet, but apparently the commits are alive again, and they're working on it still after 18 years. But there is some positivity happening. So I no longer see the need to bash them a lot, but I found a new appreciation for GNOME. I was able to use it without being frustrated, at least.
Yep.
So yeah, there's that.
Yeah, I would agree with. There are some people out there that like to criticize certain projects for everything, even sometimes when it's not warranted.
Yeah.
GNOME is a perfect example because sometimes they do boneheaded things. Certainly, the early versions of GNOME 3 were almost unusable, and that created a lot of
Yeah.
vitriol from people that loved GNOME 2. And there's some people that are just never going to forgive the GNOME team for some of those, especially those early GNOME 3 versions.
Yeah.
A lot of people have the same thing with System D. A lot of people have the same kind of issues with Canonical and Ubuntu. They did something that pissed somebody off years ago, and they're gonna hold on to it. And now everything Ubuntu does is wrong. And
here's the thing. This is something I would like. I'm going to be talking about on my upcoming podcast, but I label it as Linux. It has been imprisoned by the hate within. Is in jail by the hate within. Because within Linux, there's a lot of hate happening. It's not allowing it to grow. Like the Fedora people like to hate on, let's say, I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying this is a fact. But for example, the System D haters, the GNOME haters, the KDE haters, the Ubuntu haters, the Debian haters. There's a lot of hate under the same house called Linux, under the same roof called Linux.
Well, we should understand, first of all, we're not a single community. We're many communities broken apart but we try to push ourselves together. So yes,
we try, but
of
there
course
is
that
the
hate will be there, because
Yeah.
you always want to hate those that do not agree with you. That's the
but
basics of it.
This
You
is the
hate
wrong.
those
This is the wrong thing. That's what I'm saying. It
but
shouldn't be
that's
like that.
that's how humans are.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind.
This
I
is-
don't mind people disagreeing. I don't mind people voicing opinions. My problem with some of the people that complain, if you're out there constantly complaining about stuff that you don't have to even subject yourself to anyway, like the people that love to hate System D, you don't have to use System D. There's so many non-System D distros. Like the people that are just constantly bashing System D, just don't use it. I don't know.
Yeah,
Same
that's
thing
exactly,
with every.
That's exactly what I'll be talking about. The thing is, if you don't like something, don't say I hate and it's crap and it's bullshit and whatever. Just say it's not for me. I dislike it. That's it, and move on. But unfortunately, that's not what's happening.
The people that love to bash Canonical, the people that love to bash Red Hat, we have a lot of anti-corporate kind of people in the community, and that's fine. Certainly, I have my distrust of corporate interests sometimes, but some people take it to levels where, like if you have a problem with Ubuntu, don't use it. If you have a problem with Red Hat, don't use any of their products. I mean, like again, you're complaining about stuff you don't have to subject yourself to.
But at least if you're going to complain, especially for those who have a public facing podcast or something, at least give a reason for why you don't like this and that, because there's a big difference in I hate this because it changes the way I do things, and it's a big difference between hating for the sake of having something to argue against and having a valid reason to complain. And also, all people are not as good as maybe many of us here to articulate what they mean by what they don't like.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example of the kind of people that have a right to say something negative about a project. If you are an Ubuntu user and you want to complain about snap packages, that's fine. If you're a BSD user, for example, and you want to complain about snap packages, what the hell are you even doing? You can't run snaps anyway on BSD. Why are you even talking about it?
I see two problems.
I am one of those. I do not use Snap and I complain about them. But my reasoning for complaining is that the server side is proprietary and there is only one Snap store and you can't create your own.
I think that's a good thing.
But that is that is different than I hate it because it's different.
I have two problems with the hate. First one is hate for the sake of hate. That one is because everybody hates. So should I? So can I? That's a giant problem. That's hate without reason.
It's mob mentality. It's all it is.
It's first big one. Second big one.
Cavemen had it too.
Hating when you don't even know why you're hating. In more in a space, you read that this is bad, so you hate it. Because Snap is a great example of that. Or even in many newer Linux users who hate Microsoft, even though they never were at a time when Microsoft was extremely bad, extremely negative. Problem is that Microsoft has shown different practices in the last few years. They have been a force for not good, but force for positivity. Probably one of the better companies, even though in the sector rocking of the big companies like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, probably one of the better ones.
Well, I would say Microsoft is definitely making much more of an effort to be a part of the open source community than even something like Google, because Google's kind of just doing the same thing.
And I think the reason that Microsoft the change that happened within Microsoft I think that a big part of that is a lot of the new developers that has come in over the last 20 years are developers who are themselves using free software and open source
It's-
software in their own and learning what it is, and then step by step advocating for it internally.
In a lot of these companies, there are a lot of advocates for
Yeah.
open source software.
Yeah.
Catch is at Microsoft, the right person is at the helm right now.
Yep, that's where I was going to go to.
Yeah,
Is
that's
before
the big
you had these old, and by old I mean old in years, but they were around way before.
Old in thinking.
Right,
We
right.
should understand. We should understand that Microsoft didn't start as just making money for the sake of making money with software.
You got to understand people like Bill Gates. His idea about licensing and software,
Yeah.
he got all that from the 1960s, 1970s.
His
Steve
idea-
Ballmer got his ideas, from the 70s and 80s. That kind of thinking
we
of
should understand
software.
Bill Gates was of opinion that software is intellectual property and should be by everybody guarded as such. So then, yes, his opinions make sense, and
I mean,
way he built the company makes sense.
Bill
when you
Gates
think
thought
of
free
it that way.
software was evil. I mean, Bill Gates really had a problem with the whole concept of free software. Steve Ballmer called Linux cancer. I mean,
I think Steve Ballmer had a lot more of a
well, he was a
actual not a problematic view. I think it was just the way he said it, because he actually, as far as I know, he even said it later on that that he was actually that he actually meant to say that GPL was the cancer.
right. Well, either way,
So,
he shouldn't say that
actually
either.
makes sense. That actually makes sense, because
But,
it acts in
The
a
major
very
thing,
very cancerous manner, very such manner that is actually against the principle it actually fights for, if you ask me.
the major thing is, and I don't hate myself for saying this, but I can't believe I'm saying it. If it wasn't for Bill Gates and Windows, we wouldn't be here. Because
No, because there were other operating systems.
a simple floppy drive with CPM 80 on it and a monitor and an external tape drive and all that cost like $6,000.
Yeah, but everything was expensive. I mean, that was.
But once you got the operating system that was easy for everybody, and he started pumping it out to where, okay, here it is, and it made things affordable.
I mean, I remember when my family bought their first VCR, when VCRs were new, it cost $600.
Yeah.
Now, can you imagine? You can't give away a VCR now; they're worthless. But like it was $600, and you were lucky to have one. You were like special.
You're wrong. Those who want VCRs, they spend thousands to get
do.
They're like audio files.
Yeah.
But a big reason, one of the important reasons why Bill Gates had started with his view on licensing is the fact that his father is for all his life was a lawyer. He was a corporate lawyer, and when people grow up, one of the things they want to do is they are curious about what their parents are doing. And in Bill Gates' case, when he created something in his school time, and people were willing to pay for it, and that and then as he said in an interview once that he initially asked his father for advice on how he should handle this. As a businessman, he has handled himself very excellent. Whereas for the sake of having free software, it was not so good. But as
Well, a lot of
Dad says that a lot of things wouldn't be here if he didn't. Do that.
A lot of people that advocate for like intellectual property rights, people like Bill Gates, for example, they want everything copyrighted, trademarked. They want all these patents, and you got the patent troll firms out there. A lot of these people are. Yeah, go ahead.
That if copyright law didn't exist, GPL couldn't exist.
Yeah, but then GPL would have no reason to exist.
Yeah,
not exactly. Not exactly.
Right.
Because if copyright law didn't exist in the exact way it does right now, it could be a lot more onerous, a lot more forceful. And you know what? GPL wouldn't have a reason to exist because it couldn't exist. Because it wouldn't affect the law, because you would need a lot more complex processes.
But that's not a negative.
That's system.
That's kind of what the free software movement wants. They don't want copyright. I mean, obviously you have to have these free licenses now, but the idea would be that it wouldn't be necessary because no one could copyright anything. You couldn't have people. The whole patent system should just be dismantled, essentially.
Let's split. Patent and copyright are two separate things.
Yeah,
I'm aware. Yeah, but they want both gone. Is the thing.
I actually don't want both gone. I want both to still exist because they are the reason that they exist. They exist so that people who create something, who want to make money creating something, can make money. Because otherwise there is for a lot of people there would be no point in creating things.
Yeah, but there are ethical concerns too with patents, especially
there are ethical concerns having everything open. Like it's both are very ethically challenged questions.
They are,
and I would say that there is more ethical concerns about everything being open than everything being.
Should you be able to patent a drug that could save millions of people's lives, for example, just so you can profit?
Patent the process.
I mean, yeah, it's a tricky situation. I'm not saying one's right or there's no easy solutions to these problems, but I understand why people make the argument.
Certain things shouldn't be patented. Something should be protected under the law, that they cannot be patented, they cannot be protected for sake of profit.
Right.
But things like making.
That's right.
I'm gonna say that how to make a specific type of bike. That's not something that is gonna save someone's life. It's just something that you can create and you can sell.
True. And to be fair, there are different. To be fair, there are different rules. When I mentioned drugs, there are different rules concerning drugs and everything else. Because I think a patent on a drug can only be. It's only for 20 years, I think. So it's not like an incredibly long time. And then anybody can make the generic version of said drug.
And generic versions, we should not say that generic versions are also, if you get to the same result through a different process, technically, you're not under patent anymore, as far as I remember.
But the patent system is easier to handle.
Patent system is definitely a lot better than copyright system.
Yeah, because it has a fixed term limit of 20 years in most countries, and after 20 years, other manufacturers can start using but in software, it shouldn't be.
There are two things in software.
Yeah.
First of all, if you go worldwide, you have a thing called copyright. Copyright is onerous everywhere. Yeah. That's a problem because it's till the death plus 40 years.
Yeah,
and that's a problem, especially we know
that's too long. That's too long.
Yes, that's too long. We know that. We know that's why YouTube created the content ID system to actually deal with copyright in an actually nice manner, and it's a great system for what we already have. Now, there is a US problem with software called software patents, which in Europe doesn't exist. Why? Because it's idiotic and definitely shouldn't exist.
Yay, Europe.
But let's forget that because it's just stupid.
Well, I think it will eventually not exist in the US because the more and more these patent troll firms that are coming up and nobody likes those things. I don't think anybody thinks that is a positive force in any way.
Now, at this point, I would like to say something else, just so everybody knows. None of us here are lawyers, so everything we say cannot be taken as legal advice. That's a really important note because we can actually get sued if we do not say that anywhere in this video. That's a actual cover your ass problem.
I don't know what somebody could sue you guys for, but they're not gonna.
Actually, anybody here could be sued.
I'm talking about what could they get out of us? They'd be wasting
anything that is
They'd spend more money hiring a lawyer than anything they could get out
Yeah,
of
but
me.
for
right
some,
Depending on the
some of the
what
patent
they
trolls,
lose.
some of the entities that are heavily invested in the patent thing, they would sometimes sue for something that they don't have a standing suing for.
Yeah.
But that would be enough for someone to for many to stop doing what they're doing, even though they are in the right, because it costs a lot of money to defend against it.
Same with copyright. It costs too much money to actually go fight it. So you either just, if you're lucky, you get a cease and desist, so stop, and that's it, or you have to settle with them, which is still expensive. And same can happen with this. They can especially if they actually use our advice, and say that they lost sued because they listened to our advice, which it isn't, because we're not lawyers.
Yeah,
they could sue us for that or more, that what they lost in legal damages.
My biggest problem with
mental
copyright.
damages.
My biggest problem with copyright is if copyright didn't exist, then there would be no need for some of the stuff built around copyright, like DRM is essentially built to protect
Yes, but
copyright.
again,
And I hate DRM. Like,
people want to make money on what they make. That's first rule of reality.
I
There-
like
that's
what
why
30
companies
years
have
ago
built
there
around.
was a big court case in Norway that was famous about playing DVDs in Linux, the DCSS case, and he won both court rounds in Norway. And then he moved to the United States and started a blog, and the name of his blog was So Sue Me.
Now, somebody in the chat was asking, have I had my McDonald's yet? Because I don't have my McDonald's cup of coffee. I've got, my house mug here. I went to McDonald's this morning because I do that every month for this stream. Now, I asked for a sausage biscuit and a cup of coffee. I said, give me a sausage biscuit and a black cup of coffee. And the lady on the intercom, she says, all we have is decaf. Is that all right? And I said, hell no. It's like, well, what's the point? That's decaf coffee. That's an oxymoron if I've ever heard one.
I have a joke for that, but it's not for YouTube. So
All right.
I have a joke for that. It's not a great of a joke, but it is funny. It's just not for public audiences.
Yeah, don't get us demonetized here.
I don't think the monetization is that much of a problem in this case.
Yeah, someone was asking, is McDonald's the sponsor? I wish.
Because I bet you don't want to get a community strike. Which this joke would land you.
It probably wouldn't land me a community strike.
Yes,
what I would have to do is delete the stream.
No, DT. If you think that you're gonna get a community strike for a video, do not delete a video, because then you cannot actually
appeal
dispute the strike.
Yeah, I'm aware of
You will
that.
get it and it's done.
But in this case, I wouldn't need to appeal because I would know if I deleted the video. I know what's on it.
No. You can still get the strike even if you delete the video. You just can't appeal it anymore.
Yeah, but I wouldn't need to appeal a video. I knew something was wrong with it.
Yeah, that's not his point. His point is that if you take it down or remove it, then you acknowledge that you did something wrong.
No,
Yeah,
first of all,
I would be. Yeah.
First of all, people can still.
But I'd still remove it. I
Yeah.
wouldn't leave it up.
People, you do that afterwards. People, first of all, still can set you for can report it, so you can get a community strike. But then afterwards, which is you cannot appeal it, and 3 community strikes and you're out.
Yeah.
3 strikes and you're out with YouTube, which means you cannot have a channel anymore, or any channel, to be specific.
Well, they say 3 strikes, but
that depends
it's
if
3.
they remove the channel, or if they only remove the channel, or if they also block your account.
3 strikes and you're out. You can, as far as I know, once you get a channel removed, it's called ban evasion.
Yeah.
You cannot have a new one.
It's 3 strikes, but they do ban people for the first offense, depending on
Yes.
what it is.
3 is max. You once you get 3, you're out definitely.
Yeah.
But don't these expire as well after?
After
Yeah, they
90
do.
days.
The strikes do, yeah.
Yeah.
First, all 3 expire after 90 days, except the first warning, which never expires.
Mm.
So you wanna delay yourself getting the first warning, which is the first community strike you ever get, is a warning, but you can only get a warning once. Unless you dispute it, then you can get it again because you successfully disputed it.
Well, sure. And we know many channels that have been temporarily banned for getting too many strikes.
Those were lucky because they had a community manager.
Yeah. And we
at the YouTube to talk with.
And we also know many channels that have just been deleted for one offense, and some of them actually appealed and got their channels back. But that
happens, yeah.
That's still just crazy.
But
that people have to go through that.
Once you get your channel back, they're going to monitor you like.
They monitor you, but also monitor others depending on why you got. Because a lot of people nowadays get community strikes because of
cyber mobbing. It's
mobbing. Yeah, because basically people collect themselves and then do mass reporting.
Yeah. Be
that
careful
is a big
with
problem. And let's be honest, YouTube does detect that. YouTube can detect that.
Of course they do. There's a huge bubble of this opinion
even on
reaction.
Other social media. They can detect. The problem is that there is so much of data that while they can detect it, there is hardly anything they can do because of how much everything happens in the graph.
The problem is it's all automated, so even if you didn't do anything, you're still going to be temporarily banned or deleted or whatever was triggered.
On YouTube, it's a problem that there is so much happening at the same time that even if there was no automation, YouTube platform wouldn't be able to exist.
Yeah, well, it's too big now to. I mean, you can't have people
do this manually.
And there's no way.
Now, since we're at YouTube, what do you think about them trying to block 4K behind subscription?
Yeah, they backed out of that, I think.
If they had done that, I personally wouldn't have minded because I understand bandwidth costs for 4K. It's expensive, and it's such a small group of people that would want the 4K.
And also storage, the file sizes are a bit larger. Because
I would bet 9 out of 10 videos that get watched on YouTube, I bet get watched on mobile devices, which no one on.
As far as I listen to Linus Tech Tips for technical part of it, since at the end of the day, they do run their own video platform. They know what they're talking about.
But if they wanted to charge people 4K to watch YouTube on TV, hey, whatever. That's fine.
Even and first of all, I when I first time read 4K on YouTube for premium, I was like, okay, makes sense. I don't know why I didn't do it before. That was my reaction.
Well, anybody that's ever made videos would know why they're doing it. For those of you that are video content creators, you guys know this. A 1080p video and a 4K video. The 4K video is 4 times the size of a 1080p video. So look, that's saying like that.
You sure it's 4 times?
Yeah.
Is it 4 times or is it
the size of the file when it's rendered? Yeah, it's 4. Trust me on that. it's a lot of storage involved, and that's a lot of bandwidth that's involved. Yes, it's a huge file.
Yeah,
depending on.
I had to replace my TV this summer. The one I've been having for almost 12 years. It loses the ability to show any other color than white.
Right.
Yes, I guess something burned out inside. So it was of the 42-inch something. So I replaced it with a 55-inch, and everything they had was 4K, and everything was a smart TV and so on. Yeah. But I have it hooked up to a laptop, and it can't render higher resolution than 1080p, and I'm actually happy with that. It's an excellent quality, and I don't see the need for 4K.
I'm gonna say this: I have there is a 4K TV in my house. I have watched it once, and that once I went and I plugged in my laptop just to see what's the difference between 4K and 1080p.
Now,
You don't want
it
me-
wouldn't
Essentially,
it wouldn't help with the storage cost, but could YouTube instead, just for bandwidth savings, could they prevent people from watching 4K unless they were on an appropriate sized monitor or TV, and just disable
They
the ability to?
do that. They already do
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
got-
but they still allow me on a 23-inch monitor to watch
It's
4K.
not-
I don't need that.
Yeah.
Like,
Depends
it's-
on what movie it is.
no,
They choose which ones you can watch 1080p 4K on, because I have to watch my 4K movies. I have to switch to my screen, which is a TV, a 65-inch TV. I have to switch it to the TV, log into my YouTube account, and then I can watch it in the wonderful 4K. It is
that's strange. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think I can watch my YouTube.
No, they
movies.
won't. You can select it in the
Yeah.
options, but your bitrate and resolution won't change.
Yeah, and with the YouTube movies, I mean, if you
Uh,
purchased a movie,
yeah.
you should be able to watch it in whatever
Yeah.
resolution
On
you're in.
1080p
man.
my
screens,
argument,
they will
won't.
downscale 4K to 1080p. Actually, they downscale it on your machine, which is actually awesome.
They
For
down.
us, actually,
They knock mine down to 720
whoa.
on some of them. Not all of them. They choose which ones they allow, and then after a few months, when the
No.
movie is not relevant, then they give you
No,
1080p.
no. That's strange.
Yes,
That,
yes.
They do. They do.
got tons of movies. I know.
For
when I
for copyright reasons.
that
Yeah, when I
yes,
I
that
could log
happens. Yeah, copyright reasons.
On my
Of
TV,
course,
watch it. I loved it.
unless you actually bought the SD version or HD version, YouTube sells multiple versions of same movie.
Yeah, and I buy the ultra high def if I can every time.
Then I don't know.
No, get
Yeah.
the HD.
I don't know.
So I don't buy the SD unless I'm just going to rent it.
Oh, you still do that? You still do that, guys? I just download the 1080p of anything or 4K, and I watch.
Well, it depends on if you're watching it on a 65-inch TV like Hip Dad
Yeah.
is, you got to have the 4K, I would think.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When you can see
Oh.
the pictures coming out of her lip, then that's good.
I'm gonna say it depends on the distance. When you're running such a TV, it depends on the distance. If you're closer than optimal to the TV, you need to run 4K. If you are the right distance, 1080p will do just fine.
Yeah,
Or
1080.
if you're farther away,
I watch
if you're-
everything on my computer monitor, so I'm good.
yeah, you probably then since you're probably far enough, you probably then don't need 4K. You need just 1080p. And in my opinion, 4K is actually a scam on computers.
It is. I think one 440 is the best. Is the
No,
best in the
I think
universe.
No.
I think 1080p is the best resolution currently.
Yeah.
For two reasons.
4K is a rename of 3D. They couldn't sell 3D TV.
No. 4K is an actual resolution. It's 4 times 1080p.
Yeah.
That
Well,
yes,
I
it is.
saw a 3D TV back in the day when they came
Yeah.
out. And it was wonderful, but they
Yeah.
just couldn't sell them.
3D TV because nobody watched them because nobody cared about 3D. Let's be honest.
But it was wonderful. I was in a store one
Sure.
day and I walked by one, and I was like,
Sure.
Well, it's different now because everyone is recording in 4K, like all
Yeah.
of your TV shows and movies. Like they're all recording. Heck, some of them are
every
recording in.
iPhone, every
Yeah.
iPhone does 4K
And
videos.
I would recommend everybody who does YouTube, who tries it, even if you have 1080p screen, recording 4K on OBS. I recommend
Yeah,
you do that. Because then even if you upload in 1080p,
you can recommend
you're gonna
people to
have
do that.
4 times more pixels to work with, which means it will get averaged to 1 pixel. And
You can recommend people to do that, Big Pod, but I'm telling you, the storage costs. A lot of people are not going to find it worth it. For
delete raw clips then.
Yeah.
Wow.
well, I guess you'd have
That's a
to.
problem.
You'd have to. Delete
transcode them after edit them. You don't need the raw clips anymore. Transcode them down to even 1080p or transcode them to HEVC or even better AV1. You're gonna get so much storage back.
Because if I recorded like a 15 or 20-minute video, my average length video, and I did it in 4K, it wouldn't shock me if I had 4, maybe 5 gigs of stuff, that I recorded.
That's nothing. That's how much I get in 1080p because how much I crank up my.
I've recorded 1,300 videos in the history of this channel.
Yeah.
Now, is that nothing?
Okay.
That's a lot.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Okay, wait a second. So 5 gigs times 30
I've got
10
12
terabytes,
terabytes. If
roughly.
you want to send some to me to back up, I can back it up.
Okay, down transcode them down to HEVC or AV1 at 100.
What I'm doing, Hip Dad, I
Great.
appreciate. Yeah,
And
Amazon
then
S3 is
awesome.
what I'm doing. Yeah.
You're gonna pay what for 10 terabytes? What?
Oh, I don't know. A
Couple
few
bucks a
bucks. It's not much for the long-term storage. Yeah, it's
For
nothing.
long
If you're
storage,
using
yeah.
the Glacier infrequent access storage,
Yeah.
nothing etched.
Yeah, but
Right.
then you're gonna
Yeah.
be pulling down at a rate of $10 an hour.
Yeah, but if we ever need to, I'll worry about that. But
If you ever need to, currently YouTube is your backup.
I do want to move on to a more controversial topic. I know this is going to create some debate because the last time we did this chat with patrons, somebody asked me about Windows versus Mac, and I said I was actually planning on making a video about that topic, so I didn't discuss it. And I did make a video. If I had to choose between Windows and Mac, which one would I choose? And I think a lot of people were surprised that I
I
would
wasn't.
easily choose Windows over Mac
I was.
all day long. Like it's not even. I don't even have to think about that.
Well, there is a reason I wasn't because it's my operating system. I fully switched to Windows.
No, well, you're the Microsoft fanboy. Of course, you're gonna.
I look. You think of me as Microsoft fanboy.
Uh,
You probably do not know many people in this community.
Mhm.
no, you're right. I don't.
Anyone here, there is a couple of people I know that are even bigger Microsoft fanboys than I am.
He's an Ubuntu fanboy like me. He's
Hey,
from-
He's the Mate fanboy.
I right now my desktop
I
only
love
runs Windows, and I am not joking. It has a full terabyte SSD, just Windows, single partition.
My whole argument is anybody that's interested in freedom, and when we're talking about freedom, not just the ideals of the free software movement, just the freedom to do what you want with your hardware and your software. How could anybody think Apple products are a good choice?
Yeah.
Like that just
No.
blows my mind. Because
No.
people argued with me. I got some comments. Well, Mac OS is kind of a Unix-like operating system like Linux. You should go to Mac. It has a shell just like Linux. I don't care.
It's
Like,
insane.
I'm still not.
I'm gonna say this. I don't know how you can think about that Apple, even if it is Unix-like, it is not Unix as far as now since it isn't certified. I think they haven't certified in a long time.
Well, even if it is, what does it matter?
Yeah.
Uh,
My issue isn't with Apple itself as far as the operating system. It's basically the cost of all
Cost in its walled garden.
the
Yeah.
proprietary
They control everything about that system.
the controlling what software you have and deleting it without you knowing. Yeah, I mean, I
They
just think
hide how
Right,
much
it's outrageous.
information they have about you. They
Yeah.
hide that they.
and Windows is getting ready to turn into it. So that's why
I'm gonna tell you something. Microsoft has no problem telling you we have everything about you. We
Right.
track this, we track this, we track this. Apple would never do that.
Well, Microsoft at least tells you in the end user license agreement, right? The EULA tells you, hey, we're doing some seriously bad stuff to you.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Well, reality is the reason I switched to Windows is I spent a lot of time in Windows last little bit because I was playing games. And what did I figure out at the end? I don't really give a damn which operating system it is, just to get my job done.
Yeah.
That's basically where I came to after a month of using Windows, switching to Linux when I need to for specific things. I came to that at the end of the day, I don't care which operating system it is, because what I honestly did is when I absolutely needed Linux, I booted a VM.
And I'm going to talk about two things about why I don't like Mac OS and just Apple in general that I just briefly mentioned in the video. I didn't go into details, but there are two things why I would not want a Mac computer, and that's music and podcasts, doing a lot with audio. I don't want to be tied to things like iTunes. And of course, if you do any kind of audio podcasting, I think Apple has destroyed the podcasting industry by essentially creating a monopoly where everyone has to, because of all, you have to be in the Apple store, basically, if you're putting audio to be discovered. It's
one question. Ask what's his name, Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
He isn't in.
He's in a very, very unique place.
Yeah.
For discoverability reasons, he doesn't need Apple, right? Because everyone knows who he is anyway.
And he has the power to change Apple's decision.
Yeah.
Well, he could. He's still on Spotify, which is the main competitor.
The other one, really.
I do think it is really. The whole podcasting industry is in a sad state because it is controlled by just
podcast.
A handful of
on YouTube, Spotify, or iTunes. You don't exist.
You don't exist. Yeah, no one's ever going to find
YouTube, Spotify, or iTunes. But three competitors. That's how much normally the industry, the field supports. 3 competitors max, maybe 2.
And it's one of those things people often wonder why Apple is the richest U.S. company over.
Is it richest?
It is currently.
It is
in the U.S.
the biggest in the U.S.
Yeah. And even in such a bad year as far as the recession, where Microsoft's kind of having a down year, Google's kind of having a down year, Apple actually doing okay. Like it's weird. And why are they still doing okay? A lot of it is because they have their hands in so many things. It's not just hardware, it's not just software, but it's also things like
Google
these
is telling
streaming
me something else. Google's telling me Walmart, Amazon are bigger.
They put out a new iPhone every month. That's why they're making money.
Yeah.
Google is telling you wrong. If there's no way Walmart has the market cap that
by revenue.
Yeah, that's just what they reported the last quarter. What the company's actually worth.
A lot of just companies.
I'm talking about market cap.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Market cap. I promise you, Apple's the biggest one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't lie to you, Big Pud.
I still remember the days when if you wanted to do something in graphics or edit video, you had to use an Amiga. That's not too many years ago when the Amiga was very powerful for editing video.
Yep.
And I read an article, I think it was 20 years ago, when the Pentium 3 and Pentium 4 started to come around. That was when the PC platform became powerful enough to compete with them. So,
just a quick search. I'm pulling up some of my trading platforms here. Walmart is a pretty big company. $386 billion is their market cap. So not an insignificant amount. The current market cap for Apple is $2.5 trillion. That's gigantic. Like Apple is worth more than most countries.
Yeah, but you have to remember that's the perceived value of it based upon what it traded at. That's not what its worth is.
Yeah. Well, it's worth. Well, that's what it's worth. If people own those shares, and that's what it's currently valued at. That's what it's worth today.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I remember if they were to sell, they would probably not get that.
Yeah,
well, they'd have to find somebody with more. How do you sell something for 2.5 trillion? Like, who's going to buy it?
Also depend on how many are selling at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, and they're big on the embedded systems too. I mean, they got embedded systems all over that are locked down because of the proprietary. So
sorry, I wasn't listening.
Who
has embedded systems? I wasn't listening for a bit.
Embedded systems?
Apple.
Yeah, Apple has.
Well, Apple. I mean, on phones, iPhones, and
watch.
You talking about it like the iDevices, all the
yeah.
Well,
the hubs,
there's CPUs and stuff like that because they're integrated. So
yeah.
But there's one benefit of being so big as Apple and Microsoft are. Microsoft have started. I saw an interview about them in 1995. And then later on in the late 2000s, and they were still sticking to this, and I think they do to this day. They decided early when they started to earn a lot of money that the long-term goal was to have enough cash in the Microsoft account, that if something happened and the cash flow just stopped, they could still pay all the salaries and all the expenses for a full year without running out of money, and they still do to this day.
That is
So,
good about big companies.
Yeah, and
People who work,
that's also good for job security, because
Job security
people are
and
not afraid
people-
to if there's a downturn, they are not
Yeah.
fired at the first whim.
Yeah, so this is good for people, for workers, and those people tend to also be paid better than average in the sector, in the biggest companies.
Yeah, because they want to keep the
They want to keep, because they employ the best and they want to keep the best.
And we made
I
a
don't
mistake.
know.
We made
I
a
don't
mistake
know.
bringing up the Apple market cap, because now somebody in the chat is asking about are there any financing options available for Apple? Not the product, just Apple. I would not do an investment in Apple stock, because I just told you it's worth $2.5 trillion and it's been doing really good. So typically you don't want to buy
While
something
you
after
would
it's
make a lot of money, problem is you would make in relative terms a lot of money.
I would just be afraid you're buying at the high point of what the
Yeah,
company's
that's
worth
first
right now.
problem.
Right.
Even if it grows on the same state
Right.
now, problem is that relatively going to make a lot of money, because it is but problem is you can only buy one.
Yeah.
With
By the time-
with the amount of money you have.
Usually
Especially
by-
if you're asking about financing, so you probably want to buy multiple and pay over time.
And as far as buying their products, I don't think Apple has any kind of like finance or
They have,
for their expensive stuff.
yeah.
They do? Okay.
They do have plans, yeah.
Wow.
Just
Wow.
just
That's
just
crazy.
remember-
How much do they charge as far as the interest rate? I bet that's insane too.
I don't think so. Actually, I think it's actually.
It's priced in already. Right, they're already.
Let's check. Apple.com.
Yeah,
I
buy
think
a
they-
Mac Pro. Buy one of the expensive
No,
Mac
I
Pros.
won't buy because I can't buy. I'm from Slovenia. We don't have Apple Store.
Yeah, if you have a credit rating like mine, you probably won't be able to buy a spoon.
Let's see iPhone. Let's go.
I don't
with
think
the-
I can pull up
the
Apple.com.
best.
I've got it blacklisted in my browser. So
I can open it. I like to laugh at how expensive their stuff is and why I will never buy it.
yeah, when they're selling like a desktop computer that's
Okay.
$12,000, yeah, I've got to laugh too.
When I
Okay,
go to the
now.
Micro Center, I don't even recognize it over there.
Yeah, I would agree. DGM in the chat, go for the used ThinkPads. Yeah, that is the
They
best
don't
value
have
out there.
Any
Oh,
kind of
I loved my ThinkPad.
any kind of
Oh,
markup, any kind of interest rate.
I mean, the IBM ThinkPad. I loved it. It was rock solid.
The ThinkPads are the best bang for your buck as far as just value and for what they are.
I mean, nowadays they're basically a glorified tablet with a keyboard, but still, they're still rock solid.
They are.
Well,
And most of the ThinkPads work excellent with almost any Linux distribution.
yeah. I know a guy who is crazy on ThinkPads.
I do too. I know the one you're thinking about. He's got like 30 of them. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a friend who he rented a house 20 years ago, and he had 2 rooms full of old computers. And he said that he didn't at that time. He didn't remember the last time he used electric heat or firewood in his house, because when there was some cold days in the winter, he just went into one of the rooms and then he started up 4 or 5 of those computers and ran a fork bomb on them, and then it was heated just fine.
Yeah.
I do the same with my computer at the moment.
I do the
Too
same with
cheap
my
to
room.
turn the heating, and my graphics card is doing a great job.
Yeah, I do the
Mine does
same.
as well. But at least none of us own 4090, so we don't have fires in our computers.
No.
I actually am pretty sad for those people. Although at the same time they have that kind of money, so
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, they're probably having somebody else build their computers, a lot of them. So I mean,
But coming back to the Mac topic, to be honest, I just had the discussion recently as well with a guy who I thought of, or actually must be pretty smart, but he just said, well, I don't care about a computer, it's a tool. I want to get rid of it. I want just something that works, and basically killed off any type of other argument. He said, I don't care about the price tag. I want to turn that thing on. It works, be in the ecosystem, have everything running, and don't care about
what
it.
does he do? The question what he do, because if he
Software
do this,
engineer.
okay, then I cannot say that I would recommend it someone.
He just doesn't care, you know.
Someone like that, someone who doesn't care, who uses all websites only, who uses browser only. You know what I gave him, recommended him to go and buy a tablet.
Yeah, no,
Hey,
he was a software engineer, and he did
I
everything.
know a software engineer who uses a tablet to software engineer.
Yeah, you can do that.
Have you guys noticed that YouTube has changed their design?
Yeah,
Yes, I did, and I hate it.
Yeah,
I haven't noticed yet.
I was sitting here looking for this live stream on my YouTube channel. So I went to the videos tab, and there's no live streams, I guess, there anymore. Now they have all the live streams on a separate tab.
Yeah, they do.
Which is kind of confusing and I think unnecessary. Why would you want to separate the pre-recorded stuff from the live stuff?
Because they want to enforce people focusing on live content to go to YouTube. There's a huge debate on Twitch cutting their revenue shares.
I don't like the rounded corners of the thumbnails either, because
I don't like rounded corners anywhere on here. But yeah, this live stream.
Because many people, I don't, but many people frame their thumbnails, and that rounded corner is just going to completely look weird.
I have a question. This is an idiosyncrasy of mine. Is what do you call a Windows computer? What's the short-term name for it?
A PC.
The acronym.
A computer.
A
computer.
PC.
No. PC is any computer that is personal.
Yes, but most sites use PC as.
They're wrong. They're wrong.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, but that is the term that they are using. Even
I agree.
That is
Mac is a PC. Any computer that it can be operated by a person is a PC.
Yeah.
It's not a Windows computer. I hate that.
Yeah, but
shit.
most sites. I also hate it, but most sites use it. But I don't know what.
I remember someone was in a discussion about what is a PC and what is a Mac, and then he raised the question. But so a Mac is not a personal computer; it's a shared computer.
Yeah, that just burns me.
It's the same discussion that people had many years ago about hackers versus crackers, because there's a difference. But we are stuck with the term hackers because that is what everyone is using. The same as with the PC. It is the term that everyone is using. So we are in kind of stuck with it.
And what's the difference? Not really, what's the difference?
A hacker is everyone who is doing software engineering is a hacker, because they are changing source code on versus a cracker is someone who breaks into stuff in order to without authorization and so on.
Well, the movies kind of changed.
Yeah.
Right.
And the TV news, the movies started using it because the TV news started using it, and then yeah.
And one of my favorite movies did it. Hackers, the movie. I love that movie, but it should have been called Hackers. But nobody would have went to see a movie called Crackers.
Now, the best hacking movie was War Games.
Yeah. I agree. I've seen that in the theater. That's how old I am.
I like their phone dialing script to wake up the entire city and dial through phones to find and ping a BBS.
Yep. my first experience with the interwebs was BBS, and you talk about flame wars and BBS. Whoa,
Mhm.
people got. I mean, there was trolleys back then. I mean, it was awful.
Trolleys. Yeah.
Trolleys.
And most of what the early internet companies started out as a BBS, and then just grew, and then the internet started happening, and they slowly added
They
internet
became
functionality.
providers.
Yeah.
Sad if they were all gone, those small providers.
Yeah.
But the BBS network still exists, although it's not as big as it were.
Yeah, I mean, you can still get on a hyper terminal or putty, and you can
Telnet.
probably find yourself a BBS somewhere.
Yeah. The Fido.net still exists, I believe.
PT,
Yeah.
one question. Why did you remove me as a moderator?
I don't believe I did.
Yes, you did.
Speaking of moderation, there is someone in the
I've been fighting against him, but now I lost moderation powers.
yeah.
Oh boy.
I don't know.
Somebody cracked.
I'm frustrated now. Arch ISO to just change
Oh.
something. I cannot build zero.
Post in the chat, Big Pod, and I'll put you back as a moderator if you were somehow removed.
Oh boy. Oh.
Probably that Git issue that was present a few days ago.
No, it's something with copy to RAM. Now
Ah.
they copy the image to RAM. You can build the ISO, but if it detects that you have enough RAM, it will copy the image to RAM and install from there. But since I do custom stuff, it's failing to install.
Huh.
So I need to figure out how to kill that copy to RAM thingamajig to be able to install successfully. Because I still have until December, so I'm cool. I'm
What's
releasing
that?
it.
Init RAMFS or MK
No.
Init CPIO.
They updated the hooks in MK Init CPIO, but
DT, have you seen my messages?
I have not.
Huh.
Yeah, because you don't exist on YouTube.
Let me check. Let me go into
Then
the YouTube dashboard.
Go to YouTube dashboard because I have a feeling there is something wrong. Because I don't see my messages either when I reload, which is weird.
You
check under blocked.
Yeah, well, you may have been blocked by accident or something.
Yeah.
From all the spam that's going on.
Accident.
It is very possible,
Yeah.
but I don't see.
Yeah, I'm not watching it.
I don't see you in here though.
Yeah,
Oh, we
I
got
think,
some bots in the chat.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think Joshua tried to ban it, and the message still continues.
Yeah.
There is so many with the same name. We just keep coming because basically the point of this bot is that you cannot stop it.
Right, he's just registering new accounts. I've
Yeah.
done banned several of his accounts. So
Yeah, there is one of the messages that just flew off was to ban the phrase that he's using.
yeah, Big Pod, I don't see you here as far as being a hidden user or but you are definitely not a moderator anymore either. I don't see you there. Let me add you.
And there
See if
all
I
the
can just-
messages just disappear.
Yeah,
Joshua
Joshua keeps deleting.
Yeah,
them.
he and there is back.
Big Pod, you should be a moderator again now. I just added your name to the list manually just by going in the dashboard and typing your name in.
See.
Anyone
don't-
here watch?
Nope.
Anyone
I still don't have the.
Is it possible to have a restriction on new accounts?
Sometimes they shadow ban you if they think you're spamming.
Yeah.
Because I've had the same thing where I just don't exist on some channels for a period of time for whatever reason. You know, YouTube, again, their algorithms are weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is.
But Big Pod, I don't think you'd been posting in the chat. That's weird. That
No, I couple of
Did you?
messages.
Sir
Yeah, I don't know.
Derek, Sir Derek, since you are a proponent of app images, there's a Flatpak I discovered recently that allows you, that is a store for Flatpaks, basically. It's a store front end for
FlatHub.
For on FlatHub, but it's for app images.
Yeah, I've seen some. Yeah, I just got you back up.
Back.
Yep, I just got you, Big Pod. I figured out what the deal was.
And
I don't know how you got deleted, but I got you back in. Yeah, you're talking about the what is the there's several. There's
App Store. It was one of them.
There's Applet that was one a while back. There's a newer one people are talking about.
It's called App Image Pool.
Yeah, App Image Pool. I think I talked about that on a video recently.
Yeah, it integrates with App Image Manager, App Image Launcher, and it puts whatever app image you install from there. It will automatically show up in the app menu.
Yeah.
So
DT, go and add a block word for something this person spams, and you're gonna.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
In the community.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, let me go ahead.
Community section, block words.
Huh?
Yeah, I got that.
you know, guys, I love. There are some Arch developers or distro maintainers that I really appreciate because just now somebody just gave me the solution for the Arch issue. I love those people. It's Joe from EndeavorOS. He just gave me the solution.
The power of the Linux community.
The good ones. The bad ones, I don't want to be there. Like recently, I created a thread on the Arch Linux forums towards an issue with a drivers installer, the MHWD by Manjaro. As soon as I mentioned MHWD, he closed the thread and he deleted it. But not before hinting to a potential solution, but just by commenting. Right. But they don't like anything that's not vanilla Arch over there.
Yep. Well, yeah,
quite picky about that. Yeah.
That's been known. That's a known fact.
I just wanted to try my hand at posting on the Arch forums, but immediate deletion of the thread, I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, I think one of the rules is that only mainline Arch is supported on this forum.
Yeah. Not only that, if you go to the forums and say you installed Arch in any other way other than reading the wiki yourself, and I don't mean using easy installer. I mean, even if you did the command line install, but you didn't read the wiki to do it, you did not install Arch the Arch way, and they will not help you.
Yeah.
I apologize for talking about trolleys, because then they came out of the woodwork, so that was my fault. I do have something to say about the command line. I learned something. I mean, I'm not a real big fan of command line, but I had to... when I updated to 2210, I had to get my VPN working again for my workforce, and I couldn't use the user interface, the GUI. And so I went to use the command line, and it was like boom, boom, boom. It took 3 seconds, and it worked. And I'm like, I thought today I had an epiphany. It's like the reason why command line is better is because it doesn't have to do as much.
Yeah, and also because the thing that you have to do in order to get things working will more often than not be the same, regardless of what distribution you're using, dependent on if you're using an Arch based, a Debian based, or an RPM based. The way that you do that is often the same in the terminal, whereas in the GUI there is almost one way dependent on which GUI you're using.
Yep.
Well, the big problem with not knowing the command line is what happens when you don't have a GUI or your GUI's broken, right? It was XOR crashes on you.
With Linux is that we can lose the GUI. That's the big problem.
No, that's not a problem. That's a feature, Big Pie.
That's a problem.
I can't
No.
completely lose
For-
the GUI.
From a
No,
user experience standpoint, that the fact that you can lose the GUI and
No,
it
the-
cannot reset itself is a bad user experience.
I would say the worst
Sorry.
thing Microsoft Windows ever did was trying to hide the command prompt from the user. Because as the years went by, they tried to push it to where back in the day you kind of
tell you something you probably don't know.
Yeah, but the terminal,
on Windows.
the terminal on Windows now is if you have access to the terminal or PowerShell on Windows, you can basically turn Windows into Linux.
well, they've learned a lot from
Okay,
Linux.
I'm gonna tell
They've
you
realized they needed a proper shell.
First of all, in Linux and in Unix in general, command line is or the specific terminal is the first thing that comes up, and then you get user interface, graphic user interface on top of it.
It's the opposite on Windows.
First of all, it's opposite of Windows. There is nothing underlying the GUI. That's first. Second, up until what few years ago, or up until PowerShell came out, the thing that we called command prompt,
Right?
The run launcher.
It was horrible. It's horrible.
No, not that. That wasn't even meant to be there for normal users, like for everyday use. That thing is a compatibility layer for DOS.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah.
Just a compatibility layer for DOS.
Yeah, but as they phased out DOS as a
No, they still
wanted to be backward compatible
the point
because business relied upon that.
compatibility for it is still there because there are still users who need that DOS compatibility. What they did now is they added another terminal for those of us who use stuff like
Who want to have a modern terminal.
WSL and PowerShell to automate things. That's why they added the new Windows terminal. Not for any reason, but just so we can use things like WSL.
Yeah,
For
like
PowerShell.
there's someone a video I watched recently that is similar to Chris Titus Tech's video, who turned Windows into a terminal-centric operating system. Everything is run via terminal. There, the UI is just there on the background just to display stuff, but everything is there's no store. You want to install store-based applications, you install them via the terminal. You want to install regular applications, use Winget.
I ran the Microsoft's terminal based Windows.
Kind of like that, yeah.
No, I actually ran the system that is terminal based Windows that comes from Microsoft.
They have one?
Yes.
Yeah, there is one.
Any of you guys
Don't reveal. I'm gonna tell you something before I tell you what it is. It is at the end of the day, it is still Windows. It just doesn't have Explorer start bar. Even if you open a terminal, it still opens a window.
Oh wow!
But you want to know something? It's called Windows Server Core. It's the most basic version of Windows Server.
It's the UI shell.
It's just a different UI shell. Essentially, you have Windows Server desktop experience, which is what you would think of having a desktop environment on your Windows.
I do want to apologize to everybody listening. I did bring up Microsoft, and I should have known what was going to happen when I
Now, on
brought
the
up
other hand, they have a core version, which is just a black screen with a single terminal.
Yeah.
And it's freaking funny, but and it cannot run any other window on it. Or it's very specific windows you can run, nothing else.
Well, to be honest, if you're using Windows and you want a proper shell, you're probably just going to use Bash anyway.
Yeah.
No, if you're gonna run Windows, you should run PowerShell. It's actually while I still like Bash more than PowerShell.
I think it's better integrated in Windows than
Not just
Bash.
that, it is better in some ways.
Yes, exactly.
It is better. It's better than Bash in many ways, even on Linux.
Is it
I just don't
JSON or plain text output? What is it?
I
Oh.
don't remember.
I just don't like
It-
that there are
it's
some commands
Jason.
that
Yeah, that's
Alright.
actually pretty nice. On other hand, if you wanna run bash, then you should probably run WSL first.
Yeah.
Do
Oh, yeah.
not.
Well,
do
that's
not
what I
do
meant.
all that
Right.
bullshit,
Oh.
Ming Gui or whatever.
No,
Win.
I was implying that you would be running WSL. Yeah.
Need to run
But it-
WSL too.
Right.
WSL2 is actually totally fine.
That's what I
So
run.
It's,
But I'm just shocked that Big Pod said Bash is better than PowerShell, and then he said PowerShell is better than Bash. Like it seemed like he flip flopped there
Technically,
during that.
on a technical
Uh-oh.
level, PowerShell is better.
Uh-oh.
For me-
Uh-oh.
For
Look
me,
at
Bash
look
is
at the
better.
bottom. Who's
Yeah,
here?
Joshua.
yeah.
The house
I
is
wa-
gonna fall on our heads.
On technical level, PowerShell is better. On me level, Bash is better. Simple as that. Same as for kernels, Windows is technically a better kernel. I like Linux better. Simple. as
Okay. I'm just going to leave it at that. Just,
Somebody invoke Joshua.
that. I don't know.
Oh,
we
you
didn't
know, I just
mention.
actually joined you guys for the first time in forever.
Yay!
Yeah, same
And
as with me.
also,
We're so happy to see you.
and I would
also-
agree in the chat, Alacrity does rock, and it does work on Windows. So.
Yes, it does.
By
Well,
the
you
way,
see-
Josh, thank you for the comments on my videos.
you're welcome. And just to let you know, just for today, I decided I was going to come here today running Zero Linux, but it turns out that Zero Linux does not ship a proper driver support for my Intel Arc GPU. So,
I
All
know
about
some of his
Oh
arc.
wow.
so instead, I had to install Gen 2. which is-
You,
I knew where that was going.
Joshua, you're an arc person now.
I have 3 Arc GPUs.
Nice.
Can I have one? I just want to put it in my server and watch it spin. I don't even want to run it. I just wanna have it. Then probably afterwards I'm gonna put it on a shelf.
Well,
But,
I've
but
got
how
one that-
does it how in your opinion how does it perform related to the other two CPU
Competitors.
the GPU manufacturers?
Okay, so your Steam library, probably half of it's going to work, the other half is not going to work, but we already run Linux, so we're just going to cut that.
So only
Just
quarter
gonna
now
cut that-
works.
Yeah, about a quarter. Don't even bother trying to run things through Proton or Wine. It just doesn't work. But you know,
Strange. Because I thought since Vulkan it was gonna run better.
well, yeah, it will run through Vulkan, but not everything runs through Vulkan.
Those things that run through Vulkan will run good, I
Yeah,
guess.
everything that you can run through Vulkan basically works.
Yeah, I mean, that
Basically
makes
everything
sense.
that can go through DXVK.
Let's see here. If you're using Ubuntu, like the latest Ubuntu release, it works. I still could not get the LTS drivers working.
Oh, of course.
Debian, of course, is never going to work. So I have to wait. I have to wait for the
And next century.
I have to wait 2 stable releases before I have proper driver support.
I know a guy who runs seed. So that for that person they will work.
For your kernels, you cannot use the Xanmod or Liquix kernel. Neither of those ship driver support.
Yeah, but Debian is for people that just want something that works. It's
I
not
know
for.
again, I know a person who runs seed every day on his daily driver.
Well, you see, I had to install Arch Linux on my server. That way, I could get the GPU to actually transcode my entire media library to H265, which has been doing.
Why
for
would
the
you
past 2 years
do
now.
H265 on when you have Intel Arc card?
Because I haven't figured out how to get it to work and output into AV1.
Why
That's
has not?
Pack?
Why haven't you asked Big Pod? Is he the one running Debian Sid? Because obviously that's what he's implying.
No.
Well, you see, prior
I
to
really know someone who runs Debian.
Oh yeah, I know someone, right?
And it isn't- I'm not insane. I'm not insane. Although I did run something based on that, which copies every 6 months from it, aka Ubuntu interim releases. But yeah, I know a guy who runs Debian Seed. I think he's the same, but yeah,
I never thought we'd get to the point where people distro hop and are so ashamed that they've got to make up these stories. I know a friend. I've got a friend of a friend that distro hopped to.
I am not ashamed to say I run Windows and only Windows.
I still
that what
don't
you're in
know
today?
anyone that runs Gen 2 as much as I do.
I'm playing with the thought of running Gen 2 as a daily driver. I'm playing with the
No.
thought, but
Joshua,
I can't.
Joshua,
You know, I can't.
Since you're here, do you know if there is a WSL image for Gento?
I would think there would be.
It shouldn't be hard to set up.
I'm gonna do that.
You probably do it.
I can do it. I know how. I just want to know if there is one, if you know.
Hey, if you guys go to my website, 10leej.com, that server runs Gen 2 and it runs on Linode. Not a sponsor.
There is a section in the Gen 2 wiki for Gen 2 inside WSL.
There you go.
Then I'm gonna run that.
So just read the wiki, RTFM. Right?
Yes, I mentioned this in the chat earlier, but I don't know if you guys noticed it, but I actually got my first RTFM in a very long time when I was linking to an outdated post on the Arch wiki. You're like, this function no longer exists anymore. How's it supposed to work? Read RTFM.
My problem with people who just say that you should read the manual, but they don't tell you which manual to read.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, I have had people. I've never tried to edit the Arch wiki myself because I know a lot of people that have made edits that like spent real time trying to clean up a page. You know, spent half an hour maybe or an hour, and then they don't actually admit their changes. Right? They just they reject their changes. It's like, nope, I'm not accepting this.
Arch wiki, no matter how great it is as a resource, is a horrible thing.
Because
just like the community.
The Arch wiki is great, except it's a little bit too. It's really light on words. Like it assumes you know a lot more than what you probably do if you're there reading that page.
Yeah.
That's why the Gen 2 handbook is still the best wiki.
It is for a lot of things.
It tells you how to come up with. It tells you how to find your IP address.
I will tell something that's controversial opinion. Neither Gen 2 handbook or Arch installation will teach you how Linux works.
Of course not.
A lot of people thought that you have to install Gentoo or Arch by hand because you learn how Linux works.
No,
I can tell
The
you
only way
that's
to
not
learn
true.
how Linux works is Linux from scratch, I guess.
Even
Then-
that.
Well, even that.
Always doing research and
The problem with all those installs is if all you're doing is reading the handbook and entering a command at the command line, and that's all you're doing, just copy and pasting, and you don't know what you're doing other than just copying and pasting, then you still didn't learn anything.
But
Yeah.
if you
But
read the
unless,
text,
but
before you
if
paste it
but
now.
if you do it over and over again, then slowly you will start to learn how to do things. But
It's for people that I would say the people that want to learn something can learn something from installing those.
if they want
But there's a lot of people that
to
install Arch.
Sure,
There's-
but if you're just
like-
installing Arch, you won't learn anything.
There's a lot of normies that just install Arch just because they want to install Arch. They don't really read the wiki. They just look at the boxes that have the command to enter. They don't read the text. They don't read the paragraph above that command to enter to understand what it's doing. They just step by step, let me enter this, and in 20 minutes I have Arch installed.
yeah, and they do the same mistake that Linus Tech Tips did when they had the Linux Daily Driver challenge. Google best Linux for something, and they pick one of the first results without reading anything about it.
I just like when they came up with that poll to decide what the distribution Linus was going to run. Gen 2 was an option as an easy distro.
I wonder who did that for him.
I actually was not involved in that one because they ran the poll on Twitch, and I don't have a Twitch account.
I will never ever be able to look at Pop OS again without thinking of Linus. And
Yes,
that disturbs me that he has forever ruined that distribution in my eyes because
But he made an excellent
that-
he made an excellent video. But if you don't read or understand what you're doing, you can really screw up for yourself.
that distro has been black in my eyes already. It just showed they have no QA
Funny
for a
story.
distro that big.
Pop OS was the distro that got me into Linux.
well,
I'm sorry.
Yes, maybe.
that's something you don't hear every day. Is that my first distro was Pop OS? That's weird.
I watched some
be fair,
video
it
of
does-
Linus. Yes.
Wow,
It does
that's
actually make some
and-
sense because of how much marketing Pop OS has gotten for it, even before the
Yeah.
LTT videos, and of the fact that they pre-configured the NVIDIA driver and they make a big deal of that. So it's just like everybody's just like, yeah, I don't have to configure my
Keep
NVIDIA
that, I
driver,
see that.
even though
It's
it's
just-
apparently not very hard.
when new users ask.
Fun fact: only distro that I have in the last few months installed that doesn't have ability to configure your NVIDIA drivers right now on the installation, besides Gentoo, but Gentoo is
That doesn't count. That's not a real gen.
is Fedora, and it makes it so hard. I don't understand why they haven't yet fixed that problem.
It's a lot easier than it was.
On my laptop, I cannot install a NVIDIA driver on it because they're insane. It's insane card on my laptop. Any other distro works. Ubuntu, you click a button, you click a check mark in the installer. On Arch, if you go with that Arch install script they have, all you have to do is choose NVIDIA from the menu, proprietary drivers. That's all you have to do, and it sets them up itself.
I disagree.
So I actually
You don't have all the
installed-
settings.
Well, it sets itself up fully. If for me that laptop is a benchmark. If I can install the distro and it boots up with NVIDIA drivers from the box, directly from the installation, then it is it will work. It will work basically anywhere, because on that device I remember how many times I went through the trials and tribulations of installing NVIDIA drivers, and I remember I had many desktop and laptops with NVIDIA drivers that installed NVIDIA drivers on Linux.
I think Big Pod
that laptop is by far the hardest, and it still works on Arch.
Big Pod, you can't judge all these other distributions on installing the NVIDIA drivers based on how easy Ubuntu makes things.
No, how easy Arch makes things.
Well, but there are a lot of distributions that's not the case. You're picking on Fedora, but honestly, there's a lot of
because it's a very trying to be user friendly.
Are they though? Are they really?
They're trying to be for users. Yet they are forgetting one of the fundamental things, like having the ability to set up drivers for what is essentially large segment of the market. Actually, by current, probably 20% of the market of the people who run any kind of professional workloads, people who are most likely to run Linux outside of nerds, are people who have professional workloads that require NVIDIA cards.
But
So
Fedora has, unlike many other distributions, they have a firm belief that the distribution should be free software only as far as it's possible, and that also means that proprietary drivers is not part of the main distribution.
reality is they should get over that.
Well, that's always been the problem with Fedora and Debian. That's why those drivers have always been a pain. Is they don't want to
on
enable the
Debian-
third
and
party.
the
Debian,
reason that
if
they
you
do
go
it-
non-free, it
the-
works right away.
But there are two reasons that they do that. One is they firmly believe that this is how it should be, but they also there are a lot of users out there who really wants that type of distribution. There are people who utterly refuse to run proprietary, especially kernel drivers. And in order to do that, they have to trust that the distribution they are choosing doesn't have it. And if they want it, they have to add it themselves, which is outside of the scope of the distribution.
On
But,
average, there is a small amount of user base. Let's be honest here, because biggest part of the user base aren't to be nerds.
yeah,
It's people who use it for professional applications. Most of those have NVIDIA cards. Sorry, that's the reality. That's why Arch isn't the most popular distro on the planet,
Yes,
because it's definitely not. There is
it is not. It is not.
Ubuntu is many times more popular.
Yes, it is. But when it comes to Arch, how many times do we have to tell users that it is not for new users that are coming?
I'm not
Linux?
saying that. I'm saying people are saying how Arch is the most popular right now.
It
That's
is.
false.
It is. No. It is getting there because of all the.
Not even close.
No, it is. I didn't say it is there. I said it's
Or
getting
even
there.
getting there.
It is getting there because all new distros these days, a lot of new distros these days are basing on Arch Linux because of the vast freedom of customizability.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's nothing that should. I'm a firm believer in we shouldn't make Arch as popular as Ubuntu or anything else.
You don't have to
leave it as a tinker's toy.
You don't have to worry about that though, Dark Zero, because the Arch guys are trying to not make it as popular as it could be. They're trying to prevent it. Right?
Also, something else. Out of those 5% that are Linux, let's just say vast majority of those 5% is Ubuntu.
Ubuntu
everything
based
else, Ubuntu. I'm talking mainline Ubuntu.
Yeah, mainline Ubuntu. The LTS, like 9 out of 10 desktop Linux users are probably using. Yeah.
Everything else that is Linux, out of those 5%, is less than a percent. Is irrelevant number.
Oh, but some of them are making big gains. Big Pod. I think we'd be surprised about Manjaro. Manjaro has a lot of users.
To become a percent of user base, they're far less than that. All distros together, which includes Ubuntu flavors.
Big Pod, Manjaro's coming for you, Big Pod. Manjaro's coming for you.
Look, that's the reality.
Ubuntu needs to be looking over its shoulder at Manjaro because
that's the reality situation.
Honestly, I do.
And how I know that? I've heard some numbers, and I know that the closest distro to Ubuntu is essentially a rounding error on Ubuntu, on mainline Ubuntu. That's what I heard.
It's probably Linux, man.
I wonder why LMDE is not picking up ground.
Because
it really doesn't matter. Because
it's
a hidden option and nobody really cares what is the basis of.
If you go to linuxmint.com, which do you see first? Do you see Linux Mint or do you see LMDE?
It's a niche product. They're not pushing it.
Yeah,
they need to. They need to.
Yeah, and the reason that,
the
reason that they have it is in case they have to move away from
glass in case of emergency idea.
No, they have it in case they have to switch from basing it on Ubuntu, because Ubuntu is really pushing the Snap universe, which Mint is firmly against.
Firmly against the knowledge of Linux Mint team, because they are. Let's not go into that, because even when they were talking about how snaps are against what half of the stuff they wrote were not even true.
It's not,
so
I have my own problems with. I think Linux Mint is a fine distribution. I do have a problem with the Linux Mint team being so anti-Ubuntu, yet you're basing your distribution off of Ubuntu. You're using the Ubuntu repositories. Yeah. Why don't you base off of something else if you hate Ubuntu so much?
What are the alternatives? I can't talk today. What are the alternatives?
To base off of Debian.
Yes.
If you, that's what they should have done.
or make your own repositories based off of
Build your own packages and make your own repositories.
It's
You could do
hard.
that.
Ubuntu does it.
Make Nix more practical for like the average user.
That's not.
It's pretty niche.
I love
But
Nix.
But the reason that Mint is in the unfortunate position that is that they are basing it on a distribution that they dislike more and more is because when they started, Ubuntu didn't have all this problem with snaps and repositories, and when the snaps started to show up, then the light at the end of the tunnel started to dim a little more.
Problem is that they have a misinformed look on snaps even before even going to their half of the things they had in that article were false, downright false.
And it goes back even years before. I mean, you go back 10 years ago, back in the Unity days, they couldn't stand Unity, so they created Cinnamon. It's essentially why they created Cinnamon.
Yeah.
I mean, they do so much work to not be Ubuntu, yet you base off of Ubuntu. It seems like it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not part of their development team, but it just seems like they add so much extra work to themselves that they don't necessarily have to if they just rebase off of something else.
This is why they started to create the Debian edition. In order they are moving in that direction, but they don't have to push it yet.
Had the Debian edition around for years.
Isn't LMD like 10 years old?
No,
they have a recent version that came out.
I mean, 10 years in the first release.
Oh, you're talking about the first one? Yeah, it's been around forever. Yeah, around a long time.
They haven't gotten anything. How much it evolved from the first time it came out?
not
that much.
Ship an XFCE image as like their light version.
One of the problems with the early versions of LMDE is people installed it thinking it was a rolling release because that's what Linux pushed it as, a rolling release. But it's not really a rolling release. It's so slow with the updates. Yes. You might as well have been on Debian stable. It was so slow in updating packages. So a lot of people feel like they got tricked into thinking LMDE was going to be something that it really wasn't.
Well,
they were thinking it was going to be something like Debian SID, but it was not anything like that.
Yeah. Oh well. Any of you here think that Fedora, for example, is worthy of all the hype it's getting these days?
I'm gonna say yes.
No.
I don't know. I don't know if it's worthy. I would say Fedora hasn't changed at all in years.
It's still absolutely unstable.
Oh, did it deserve more praise in years past, or does it deserve less now? I would say it's still the same distribution. It's just for whatever reason, people's perceptions change over time. But Fedora is exactly the same as it's always been.
Deserves exactly the same it deserved years ago. Absolutely none.
Well,
I wouldn't go that far.
There's a lot of YouTubers like Matt, for example. He's known to have issues on a lot of distros, but since he switched, since he switched to Fedora, he's been using it for 3 months now, and he has not had any issues since. So
I've
how can that be?
Only on Fedora.
Well, I would say
in breaking a distro with Fedora less than 24 hours.
I would say that anybody that was using Arch that switches to Fedora and says they have less issues, I can understand that. You switch from a rolling release to not a rolling
Arch
release.
Arch was more stable for me than Fedora.
Oh, this is something weird. For me, I usually have issues on Arch. Zero Linux, basically, it's the same thing. I have
it's not. Ask Arch forums. You will see that it's not.
But I usually get issues, and I have to do a fresh install. But I haven't done a fresh install in 4 months, almost coming to 5, and I didn't have any issues yet, with the exception of the recent grub issue. But without that's been fixed with Arch Chroot. But other than that.
Arco Linux has been running on the workstation at the office, the same installation for over
That's
2
what I
years.
wanted
Again,
to
not
ask.
Arch.
For over 2 years.
For over 2 years, I wanted to ask you that. Is it the same install that you had for
Yep.
a long time?
I've never reinstalled on the workstation.
Again,
This is the
not
same
Arch.
installation.
Same. I switched to the Zen kernel now, but other than that, it's the same Arco installation since, I don't know, 18 months,
Yeah.
19 months.
I'm not saying. Now, I'm not going to say I didn't have breakages. I've had some things break, but they weren't. But I
breakages are
fixed
one
them.
thing. Yeah,
But they were
breakages-
stuff I could fix. All right.
Yeah.
The last time I used Arco, it removed all my kernels, and I was new then, and I didn't know what to do. And yeah, that's the story.
That actually is that's a common error, especially when you're removing things and trying to remove packages with their dependencies.
No. It was Pacman update.
Yeah. But still, Pac-Man's doing that for you. It thinks that the Linux kernel is a dependency for something it's removing, so it's going to remove the Linux kernel. You got to watch because it'll give you the output of the changes it's going to make. If you see Linux as one of the packages it's going to remove, don't take that update.
Essentially, same problem as Linus had.
Right. He tried to install the desktop environment, but the desktop
he tried
environment
to install Steam.
Yeah, Steam tried to install the desktop environment.
Of some transient dependencies on System D, which are on some packages dependency System D, which had to be updated, which then broke GNOME because
GNOME depends on System D, which depends on Pipewire, which depends on Wayland, which all of them are tied together, and you can't...
reason everything got messed up is because some of the stuff Pop OS users are in their own repository, somewhere in the repositories of Ubuntu. That's why it's called Frank-Ubuntu by some. And you do that, you're gonna break your system easily. So you go and do an update, and since there is no QA, he just went and deleted everything.
The only reason I moved from reason I moved from LNDE 5 was to Ubuntu Mate 2204 is because they were a newer kernel. That's the only reason. Otherwise, I would have stayed with LNDE 5.
One thing I will say about the Fedora, because I do want to mention Fedora becoming popular, because I have a thought on this that is, if people change their minds on Fedora, I will say no, and it's pretty obvious how you can judge this. What are 99% of Linux distributions basing off of? They're either basing off of Debian or Arch. You've never seen a Fedora-based distribution, right? I mean, there's some out, but that's just they don't do that, right? So, until you start seeing that, Fedora's not popular.
It's all the Linux cast fault. It's Matt's fault. Yeah,
I blame Matt.
I blame Matt.
There is a lot of people who went after who started promoting Fedora, and again, I don't understand why, because the thing is not stable at all.
It's those Red Hat fanboys, Big Pod.
Especially. Yes.
Okay, so the Fedora hype really did start from the Red Hat guys, because the Red Hat guys started talking to Jupiter Broadcasting, who then they started talking about Fedora, which then kind of went downstream to like Jason Evangeli, or whatever his name is.
Evangelo.
He talked about Fedora, and then like from there it just spiraled, and people just started talking about Fedora.
Do you think they're paid shills? Is that where you're going with that?
No.
Oh, okay. No. That's what the internet would claim. That's not what I would.
Reason is they work for those Red Hat guys. Is because they work for Red Hat and they needed to use something that isn't Red Hat, but it's still in Red Hat.
Well, I can understand why Red Hat employees
Red Hat isn't free.
Yeah. That's like Big Pod being a part of the Ubuntu Mate team. I expect him to shill for Ubuntu Mate. That's part of his job. Right?
I wouldn't dare do that. Never. I never would. Never.
Well, guys,
sponsorship if Big Pod would like offered up some dough for me to run a bunch of Mate. I'm not gonna lie.
No.
Hey, in the chat, Stefan wrote, "I thought Big Pod was part of the Microsoft team."
No, I'm not.
Yeah, come on, there has to be some coherence, guys. He can't be everywhere. He appears to be, but there's something in the matrix.
I am part of a completely non-Linux related team.
Well, guys, we just got a few more minutes here, and we got a big crowd here today. There's 12 of us in the chat. Let's each take about a minute and give us a last word, because I know some of you guys haven't got a chance to speak up yet. So, George, are you there? Take a minute and give us a last word, sir, if you're there.
Yeah, I am. Thanks for hosting another one of these. It's always a great couple hours on a Sunday at the end of the month.
I appreciate that.
I learn a lot from others, and hope everybody, keeps up with their hobbies and what they're interested in, because that makes life interesting.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us, George. I hope it wasn't too much Microsoft Windows talk this time. Speaking of Microsoft Windows, Big Pie, do you have a last word for us?
Yeah. Everybody who is here, I recommend you start using Docker and containers. So not just Docker, I mean containers in general, whether it be Snap containers, whether it be LXD containers, whether it be systemd containers, Docker containers. This is gonna be hard to say, but Podman containers. I don't no.
What's wrong with Podman? Red Hat really pushes Podman.
There's a problem.
Okay.
Use containers, essentially. That's how you're gonna get to the
Distro
better
box
part of the
Podman
world.
container?
Isn't what?
What?
DistroBox, like the tool that people have been talking about
Yeah,
lately?
yeah, it uses Podman.
You can use Podman, Docker, either of those.
Oh, it can use Docker? Okay.
As far as I know, yes. Toolbox, the thing in
Toolbox is
Fedora that can only use Podman, and it's Podman.
And of course, you really love talking about Docker because I know it's part of your job these days. And
yes.
Right. So
paid chill.
That's it.
I work as part of the security part, the securing Docker containers and containers in general. Really,
Nice.
You want to talk about Kubernetes? I know.
We'll save that one for next month.
Okay, next
Kubernetes.
one. I can talk about Kubernetes, but I'm gonna say this: Kubernetes is a data center on a machine. Next one, please.
All right, thank you, Big Pod. Hip Dad, give us the last word, sir.
Command line is your savior.
Wow, and that's coming from someone who says they prefer the GUI over the command line.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was an epiphany when I couldn't get my VPN working because the GUI would not complete what it needed to do. Every time I had to hit the enter, it would just freeze and would do nothing. So I had to log into work to operate the geothermal plant, and I couldn't do it. And I went ahead and installed the command line and used it. And it was like easy. I mean, it took 5 seconds.
Right. A lot of people think when they see me correcting errors or something, doing something at the terminal, like this is really hard stuff. Most of it is stuff you can Google in just a few seconds, do a copy and paste, assuming you know what the command does, just don't enter anything into a terminal. But yeah, this is not complicated. A lot of people think you have to be a nerd, but, well, you're kind of a nerd, but you're not as nerdy as some.
But you can also save your bash history file, config file, and take it over to your new distro, so you have the ones you've been entering, so you can do your up arrow and find the ones, so you don't have to type it in.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, and happy Halloween to everybody too. Nobody dressed up today, although I did show up sort of with a costume.
My costume, Derek.
All I own are white T-shirts.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. You have no choice. You're the same every day. Dark Zero.
So I scare people normally.
Dark Zero, give us the last word.
Free the tux. Stop the hate.
Free the tux, huh?
Stop the hate.
Is that kind of another phrase like no tux or no tux, no bucks? Y'all remember that one? No tux, no bucks.
No, it's because
that needs to be on a T-shirt.
No, it's because people keep asking me, why is Tux in prison in your podcast logo? It's because of all the hate.
Yeah,
he prefers to be in silent jail than in hate world, free world. So until you stop the hate, he's not going to be free.
Yeah, leave Tux alone, guys. Leave Tux alone. All right, thanks for hanging out with us. Dark Zero is a Soul Boo. I think stepped away. All we've got is his green screen. I'll get him if he comes back. Stefan, give us the last word, sir.
Well, thanks for the talk, guys. Appreciate hanging out with you at the end of the month. And well, as a last word, I'd only like to advise everybody to try to implement some self-care and kindness to yourself and each and everyone around you. It'll act like a boomerang and come back.
And of course,
That's
you're going to be some kind of cat for Halloween, or
well, I'm not doing Halloween, but you know the kitty always contrasts well with my general appearance. That's kind of the tease. Thanks, guys. Talking with you was great.
Yeah, appreciate that, Stefan. And we have the other Josh with us. Would you like to give us a last word? The other Josh. He may not have a mic, so let's live free or die in the chat. Okay, well, that is a good last word. Max, would you like to give us a last word?
Yeah. If you're new to Linux, don't do something that installs from the terminal.
All right. Appreciate that, Max.
From personal experience.
Yeah. Anything else for us? I think that was it from Max. Well, that's fine. Joshua, give us the last word. And this is the real Joshua, not the other Joshua.
Real Joshua. There's
okay.
Name and everything. You know, like I am a certified Joshua. But anyways,
I'm just wondering if the other Joshua had a camera, would he have a white T-shirt on?
He would probably have a black T-shirt because we gotta have the white Josh and the black Josh. But anyways, just
like evil, good Josh and evil Josh, right?
It's free and open source software. It's our GNU given right to do whatever the heck we want with it.
Okay.
And, just to let you know, when you decide that you're going to install your Arc GPU, you probably need that second cup of coffee.
Absolutely. All right. Are you still on Gen 2, or have you've been hopping?
This system that I'm talking to you from today is using Gen 2. I have 2 servers that run Void Linux, a server that still runs Red Hat, and then a 4th server that's currently running Arch Linux.
Why a server with Void?
I have 2 with Void.
But that's an odd choice. Why?
Yeah, my home theater computer is still running Void Linux because I tried to step into and entered the Void, but I got scared, so I ran away. But anyways, I still have 15 Raspberry Pis that are running Gen 2, although 2 of them nowadays are running Pi OS, and then my Pinebook is still running Manjaro because that's the only one I can get to boot lately. And then I still have. Do I still have it?
Well, to be fair, you need 15 Pis if you're going to compile Gen 2. So
yeah,
one won't do.
This tablet runs Ubuntu. This phone, it runs something I don't even know anymore. This little computer is my little Linux from scratch box. I'm still working on it.
Oh gosh.
Oh. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Josh. Yeah, Ben, give us a last word.
Okay. Well, I am struggling to make my own awesome config, Derek, even though I watched your video, and I'm wondering what I should do about that, because I did check out your awesome video at one point, and I'm not sure what I should do on this, because I'm about ready to rip my effing hair out.
Yeah, I would say
clone an existing config, but
that's probably your best bet.
Yeah.
Honestly, just tell us what it is you want to do.
Well, what I'm doing is I've got Vanilla Awesome installed, the whole shebang, but I really want to make my own versus clone a pre-existing one. And
what you're going to have to do,
I have the Awesome 3.5, but that's sold. It's like, man, I just want to update it to 4.x, and I'm not sure the best way to make a 4.x.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, then you have to realize that the awesome config is written in Lua, so you have to first of all wait for a full moon, go out and pray to your Lord and Savior, the moon, and then come back, get your Lua reference manual.
He's joking, but I was actually going to say the same thing. I was going
to because there's really no documentation for like the latest version of Awesome.
I don't know that much Lua. I will say it's a tricky language, so you may. But I would also say with Awesome, like most window managers, you need to learn the libraries that you're importing and exactly what they do. You're going to have to read some documentation, unfortunately. Unless you just want to take an existing config and run with it. That's the only easy way. If you're going to build your own, you have to read documentation and figure out. But
or watch a tutorial or something like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, the Awesome website is probably like going to be your best.
The best shot.
Yeah. Just read the documentation.
I'll just do that.
Picking up the Lewis.
I'll do a combo of the two. Is just make a config following the guide and just like.
But yeah, the Lua syntax itself actually isn't that difficult to learn. It's the actual developing it from scratch. That's where Lua begins to be a little tricky because it does work a little differently from other scripted languages.
Yeah.
But realistically, when it comes to Lua, just remember everything's a table. Put your comma in the right damn place, otherwise it's not going to work. And the file reads from the top down to the bottom.
All right, sounds good.
Well,
anyways,
it still isn't intercal.
Having me and
what's up, Ben?
Anyways, my last word is thanks for having me, and looking forward to next time.
All right, appreciate that, Ben. And let's get back to Soul Blue. Give us the last word, sir.
Yeah, sorry for my disappearance. I had that phone call. We talked about strikes and so on early in the stream. For those of you either here or who are watching who have a YouTube channel, a good thing to start doing is stream on more than one platform. So that another channel that I attend to weekly is the Switch to Linux channel. He started to stream on 4 or 5 other platforms, and on 2 of those are often the same amount of viewers as he has on YouTube. So if you do get have a problem with YouTube or they ban you and so on, you don't lose your whole community all at once.
I would say but watch out before you start streaming on other platforms. Read their terms and conditions if multi-streaming is even allowed, and do not accept partnerships. That's gonna have
never
requirements.
Like you have to be your own boss.
I actually ran into a PeerTube instance where like they won't allow any non-anime related streaming.
Well, that's normal. It's their I mean, it's somebody's own instance. Of course, you have to limit it, and so you have your own rules. I understand that.
I'm actually
thank you, Sobu.
Thinking of creating something like PeerTube instance or something like that, just for fun.
Yeah.
Oh, will you allow me to upload my entire YouTube back catalog to it?
No, I'm gonna limit registrations to one channel.
Well, guys, let me get my last word in. So I want to thank, of course, you guys for hanging out with me on camera. There were 2 or 3 people that were here earlier that dropped off. I want to thank those guys too. I want to thank everybody in the YouTube chat because we had some nice discussions. Other than the trolls, we had some nice discussions in the YouTube chat this time. And then I want to thank all the patrons that couldn't be here. So I'm going to show some names on the screen. So these are all the patrons. So thanks to each and every one of these ladies and gentlemen as well. And other than that, that's all. Wish everyone a happy Halloween for those celebrating tomorrow, and wave bye to the YouTubes.
Just remember,
happy normal day tomorrow.
Python's better than Lua.